What challenges do you face being young and black in the industry? I can sit on both sides. I can sit in both rooms, both black and both white. And I'm so not traditional on either side that's a big challenge because it scares a lot of people. So on one side, they see me as this way. The other side see me as that way. I can never really fit in. I think the young part more so than the black part. A lot of the experience questions comes out like, who the hell is this guy? And what does he know? What's going on, everybody? My name is Q, aka the People's Planner, and welcome to another episode of the People's Planner podcast, brought to you by the Clever Group. This episode is going to be completely different, way different than any other episode and any future episode, mainly because if you follow me on any of my social medias, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn primarily, the name is right here at Q21_, Q, the word 2, and the number 1_. Then you know that over the last week, I posted a post. I had made a post that said, ask me any questions. So I was going to dedicate this entire video to answering some of those questions because I think, letting y'all into how I think, who I am, and things like that, I think it's good for business, right? I think it's good just for the brand in general, but just, good for people to kind of see who I really am. So throughout this video, I'm going to answer a lot of those questions that I feel are appropriate for this. I don't want to expose too much of myself, but without further ado, I'm going to kick this one off. So it's about 30 questions. Jesus Christ. Question 1 really hit it immediately off the gate. So what exactly do you do? So I am first of all, certified financial planner. That aspect of it, we can clear that out. But I'm also, as the founder of the Clever Group, what I do is I work with business owners, primarily athletes, attorneys, or entrepreneurs, high growth entrepreneurs, and to help them pretty much raise money or find some way to raise money to grow their business, whether it's through investors, lenders, grants, whatever it is. So I pretty much act as that business liaison, business consultant, but also acting as a fractional CFO for you. So if finance is one of those areas you're struggling, I take one less head off your head, so that way you ain't got to think about that. So there's two components: helping you raise money, helping you figure out what's the right plan for that, and kind of acting as that fractional CFO. So essentially, mainly operating in the venture capital space, which is, we'll talk about that later, but just that's pretty much what I do and how I help folks. Not so much asset wealth management side, because to be honest with you, that side was pretty boring to me. Now I can do it, and I don't mind helping folks who need help, managing their money and from a personal standpoint. But just the side that kind of turned me up was working with those business owners, helping them raise money to grow their business and helping just kind of be that point guard for them from the financial standpoint. So that answered that question for, what exactly do I do? Somebody else asks, what inspired you to become a financial planner and even start the Clever Group? So I was always big in the finance role. I always loved money and I love talking about money. But I think what kind of sparked it was growing up in a, community, a black community, right? Growing up from where I grew up with. In the black community world, predominantly a lot of times talking about money and money in general is uncomfortable conversations. And there's a lot of things we don't know in that space. So it was always big for me to figure out what the other side knew that we didn't know. So I kind of put myself and prepared myself to be, one of those, 1%ers when it comes down to how many CFPs are there in the world that are black. It was only 1%, right? And I only know 2 that are in Louisiana. One is actually my bigger brother, right? But the idea was I've always gotten to that space because I wanted to know what the other side think, and I wanted to understand more about how money works, so that way I can be able to express that. Jesus Christ, it's raining. I can be able to express that, to folks who might need it, who might not have direct access to it. So, and the Clever Group came because I got tired of working for different firms. There were several different firms. Pretty much every firm I worked for were white owned, of course, and they had their own way of doing things. Once again, and it was big for them. For most of them, it was just those guys who always want money, no matter who it is. It's not really, good folks from that standpoint, right? They good people, I guess, but they're just terrible leaders, terrible bosses. So that kind of made me start the Clever Group because it gave me the autonomy to do things the way that I felt was right, and kind of tried to make a change within the financial planning industry in general. So that was my biggest reason of becoming a financial planner and also starting the Clever Group. It also boiled down for me to kind of pivot from that asset management side, like I mentioned, to like the venture capital side. There's a lot of business owners who might not have assets for you to manage. Financial planners should understand that, but they do have the capital and also the the drive to continue to grow. So it's always beneficial to how can we help those folks. So that was kind of the lane I carved out in my space. Anyway, that was a mouthful. So you can go back and just rewatch that. You get the picture. Another question somebody asked was, what was your times in track and can you beat me in a 100-meter race? So for those who don't know, I did run track and field at University of New Orleans my freshman and sophomore year before transferring to LSU to finish my years off. I did not run track at LSU. Actually, I tried to try out there, but I got there too late. I would have been a viable part to it. But anyway, I was a sprinter. So anything over 200 meters, y'all won already. Y'all can have it. That was not me. My times in the 60 was, I think, indoors was a 6'8" or 6. It was a 6'8" or 6'9", one or two. I think I cracked 6'8". Outdoors, 100-meter sprints, 10.52 was my time. I ran that at Lake Charles. It was one of the greatest days of my life. For the 200 meters, I believe it was both 21s, indoor and outdoors. I wasn't that strong on the 200, but like anything sprint-wise, that was me. So probably could beat you in 100 meters because I still kind of work out, even though I kind of tore my LCL recently. We're not going to talk about that, but I think I still got the speed that I need to run in those times because I still stay in shape. What challenges do you face as a young black man, as being young and black in the industry? Okay, great question. So for me, the biggest challenge is, of course, being young and being black, because the way I kind of operate personally, and I can't speak for all young black professionals in the financial space, but for me personally, I think the biggest challenge is that I can sit on both sides. I can sit in both rooms, both black and both white. Like I said, I'm that guy that can put on a suit and tie but have a pair of Jordans on. And I'm so not traditional on either side that's a big challenge because it scares a lot of people, especially here in Louisiana because we're very conservative. I'm not a political person, to be honest with you, but when it comes down to a lot of things that people get scared of change in any aspect. So having somebody that knows what you know but doesn't look like you or sound like you, or vice versa, somebody who looks like you and sounds like you but doesn't know, like it was always that dynamic that's been a challenge for me to be able to thrive because on one side they see me as this way, the other side see me as that way. I can never really fit in. So it was always difficult being young and being black because it's kind of you got to prove yourself a lot. I think the young part more so than the black part. Black part of course is huge, but I think being young and black, a lot of the experience questions comes out like, who the hell is this guy and what does he know and all this other stuff. So that kind of makes it difficult, but I think I've carved out enough of respect from a lot of higher up folks, black and white, to where they understand that I understand what the hell I'm doing and what the hell I'm trying to say. Now, we're all trying to figure it out, but I at least got a concept just like they do. So good question. Another question someone asked was, what are the most common mistakes you see most founders and entrepreneurs make? Business question. So a lot of mistakes I see is, one, you don't hire me. First of all, you don't hire somebody like me to help you. But in reality, you don't really ask for help at all. I think that's the biggest mistake. A lot of times you go into things thinking you have it figured out. Being a founder myself and working with a lot of founders, I understand the need to delegate, right? Certain things that just, you want to make sure you can maximize on what you're good at. And as founders, we want to just do that thing very well. So oftentimes it's like the lack of asking for help, right? Asking for people to help guide you because you think you can do it on your own. And I'm here to tell you, you cannot do this shit on your own. Get somebody to help you, hire the right team, get the right advisors, right mentors, whatever it is, because this is not an easy thing to work on, like to do and to build. I can tell you that from experience. Another question is, how do you recommend entrepreneurs to secure funding from VCs and angel investors? To answer that question, one, you should hire me again. But really, it's you. The way I'd say it is, you want to make sure you're prepared and understanding what investors look for. I always explain this to every client I have is the three things that investors look for that's going to always be like prominent. There's many other factors, but the three most important ones is team, product market fit, and exit. So if you're in the world of talking about getting investors, you have to understand, like, if you're a team, like, all right, why are you the folks that I'm going to give my money to, first of all? And the second part is product market fit. I don't know what that bubble is. The second one is, can you actually make money selling what you're selling? Like, is this something people actually want to buy, right? And I think the last question to really ask yourself is, like, how are they going to be able to get their money back? Because that's what they want to know. At what point, from an exit standpoint, do I get my money back as an investor? And do I get a big return on what I actually gave you originally? So Those three things are the biggest things to prepare for before you even go sit in the room. Now, mind you, different investors got different theses, different things that they look for. So it's always mindful to understand, what they're looking for in totality. Anyway, and that asks us the next question too. What are the key factors investors look for in startups before they decide to invest? Team, product market fit, and exit. How do you help your clients? I kind of mentioned that already. So the way that I help clients is, in general, my job is to help you either from a fractional CFO side, make sure your financial numbers are good, but also help you throughout the fundraising process, finding the right people with money that aligns with what you're trying to do and putting you in front of them, right? Being that matchmaker, that middleman for that aspect. How did you come up with the People's Planner name? So originally the name came from The Rock, right? The Rock is called the People's Champion, but he's also like the most electrifying person in all of entertainment. And that's who I inspire to be from an energy standpoint. In the financial venture capital space, like being the most electrifying person. When you see me, hear me, everybody knows I come with 10,000 watts of energy inside of me, right? So I'm able to just light up every room, just being me, right? And I can naturally feel comfortable. Now, I talk fast, I move fast, I think fast, so that rubs people the wrong way. But like my ability to just spark engagement, creativity, innovation, all of that stuff, I just love to be able to be seen as that person who, brings that energy. So the People's Planner name essentially came from The Rock being called the People's Champion. How do you stay so motivated? This is an interesting question because it's hard as hell, if I'm being honest with you. It ain't easy, mainly to keep pushing yourself because, I don't have I love the people, like my friends and stuff that are my support system, but I've always tried to get a mentor. It was always hard to get a mentor. I don't know why. But it's hard to keep yourself going when you have no idea what's next and you're figuring this whole thing out as you do go. So to stay motivated is just a drive and a knack to just not give up. Kobe Bryant was somebody I looked up to. And it's just, having that mentality of it's not over yet, right? Knowing that I'm just figuring it out, carving it out, but just executing as I go. So I think it's just not seeing the end yet. It's what's keeping me motivated. Somebody else said, you got pretty teeth. That wasn't even a question. Thank you, whoever said that. How do you manage your ADHD while running a business? Because I'm struggling. Whoever wrote this, deeply, reach out to me because I'm big on ADHD. Everybody knows I'm sensitive about that because I struggle with it too. And that goes to the motivation thing. It's hard as hell to stay motivated when you have a low battery in general, like you have a low battery capacity. The way I do it is really just trying to keep myself sane and organized and understand that I don't have to get it all done at once, but also try to maximize on just the timing. I know in certain areas, between 10 to 1, I'm on fire. That's the time for me to crush anything important. So just kind of understanding yourself, because I know between 10 and 1 o'clock, that's the best me possible. That's peak Q. So I try to get all the important stuff done between that time, and then everything after that is pretty much hey, can I hang on until the rest of the day and filling out whatever I need to fill out. But definitely talk to your doctor if you are prescribed medication, therapy and stuff like that. I am on Adderall, so that kind of helps me out a lot too. But just trying to keep yourself balanced and organized, I think, is the best way to manage it. What advice would you give someone coming up in the industry? Be you, always, 100%, and keep learning. I ask questions all day long when I don't understand something. I research. I have a lot of unnecessary information in my head, but it's just for me to just keep myself going and learning about what to do, because I can tell you something though. Really a big advice is this industry, or any industry, is all about convincing. How well can you convince somebody about something? Because 95% of the people, even rich people, don't know what the hell that they are doing, right? I'm going to be completely honest when I say that. 95% of them don't know what they're doing. But the idea is, who can convince who that this way or your way is, a way to invest in, or a way to go down and stuff like that. And I'm not saying you're going to make up something. Don't do that. Don't lie. But convince them, give people a reasoning why you're the one they should hire. You're the one that's good for the job. You're the one that's good for the project. Because if you bring a compelling reason, you at least get a shot to prove yourself. So that advice would, I think, take you the long way. What are your long-term goals for the Clever Group and you in the venture capital space? So for me, I want to be seen as the Rich Paul of the financial planning world. Everybody who knows me personally knows that Rich Paul is somebody I looked up to throughout my entire life, right? Somebody that, looking at how he handled LeBron, how he built Clutch Sports. Clever Sports was named after Clutch Sports, Clever, it was K. I was going to put a K, but it was, anyway. I really look up to Rich Paul and look forward to meeting him one day. I will get in front of him one day, but my long-term vision is to turn the Clever Group into this juggernaut of a consultant space for the venture capital world, being able to have a hub for founders and startups to come through and reach out to help get them in the right position, get them structured to grow their business and to be, who they need to be going forward. So that's my biggest thing, especially in this space that I'm in. Next thing is no question. I just wanted to let you know that you're inspiration. Keep going, bro. I know where you come from. Thank you. I think if I had to guess who this is, I probably know exactly who this is. But appreciate you, man. Like, real talk, whoever it is, it's not easy. So I'm glad to be an inspiration to somebody, but it's not easy at all, especially where I come from and how I grew up. Being able to just pound and pound and pound until somebody answers the door, I think is big. But I appreciate that. What's the best advice you've ever received and who gave it to you? I don't necessarily know who gave me the advice, but the advice that I received was that like 95% of people don't know what the hell they're doing, right? But I think something else I've learned over time was it from Gary Vee? I think it was somebody like that, where it's like whenever there's a gold rush, you don't mine for gold. You sell the shovels. And that kind of took me a long way, because the idea is that when everybody else is rushing for gold, instead of me going to do the same thing, well, how about I sell the shovels that they need, right? That's how you kind of stand out and be different. So that was a big advice I took away from that. How hard was LSU? Not hard at all. I don't think college is hard in general, honestly. I think college is all about discipline. Really, it's about discipline. Like, it's nothing else about it. It's just discipline. College kind of teaches you, I always say, like, everybody should get at least one semester of college. I don't really care if it's junior college. I don't care if it's D2, D3, community. I don't care what it is. You get one semester so you can fill it out. Because teaches you something where, like, you can have $50 or $20 in your bank account. I'm being very generous with $50, but $20 in your bank account, and you got $20. It's a Saturday night. You got a assignment due. You got a project due. You got $20. You got a project due. There's a party. There's a football game, and you probably got to work if you got a job, right? You got 5 things going on at one time. College will teach you how to get all 5 of those things done with just $20, right? College will teach you how to get that done. Like you're going to get that assignment done. You're going to get to that party. You're going to get to the game. Everything is going to get done. That's what college teaches you. And I think, I really appreciate the people that I went to college with when I was at UNO, because that they actually saved my life. What happened with your old firms? It's a messy question. So the last firm I was at, the boss was chaotic. He was chaotic. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Great guy, terrible leader, terrible boss from a standpoint of just, hitting agendas all over the place. And I expressed that to him as I left out of there. Being somebody who doesn't trust you and for no reason, but like his own insecurities. And I think that's kind of challenge a lot. And then a lot of the firms I worked at, there's this thing I always say, like 2 + 2 is 4. That's how they got to 4, and that's how they get to 4. But I can do 1 + 3 and get to the same answer, but it's different from how they do it. And I think it was always a matter of, no, you're going to do it my way regardless. Like, I want you to get a 2 + 2. And it's like, well, what's the difference when I'm very good at getting 1 + 3? And I think that was a disconnect. They wanted me to be in this box that they wanted me to live in, when I'm like, hey, I can make you the same money you want to make, but if I do it my way, what's the difference? But it was always just your baseline. And it was, once again, living out here in Louisiana, it's a lot of scared of change, right? You're scared to anything that's not what you're traditionally used to. So that was the issue with my old firms. How's your mental? I'm going to be honest with you. I suffer from ADHD and anxiety, hyper anxiety. I think that's what it's called. So it's a lot. It's hard a lot of times, a lot of days, because I have the mental issues to deal with and struggles. But I try to keep myself going. But honestly, right now, it's tough, because I have a lot of things going on, a lot of great opportunities, a lot of like scaredness, because I just don't know what's next. But it's not easy. And, everybody thinks I'm this robot machine, but it's like, no, like actually, like, this is tough. This ain't easy. So I'm not going crazy. I'm just in a space where it's like, I just don't know. What do you do for fun? Ask my friends. Because when it comes down to fun, everybody thinks I'm this robot. Like I said, everybody thinks I'm this guy who just work. You have no idea. If you've never came out with me or had fun or did anything with me, you don't know what fun really is, to be honest with you. Like, complimentary Q is a real thing. And if you don't know who that is, you're not really close to me. So you should ask somebody close to me what that is. What's your favorite drink? Crown Apple. There you go. Figure it out. Crown Apple. How hard was the CFP? Hard as hell. The CFP was the most challenging thing ever because it required a lot of, you really had to understand. It wasn't a memorization exam. It wasn't a memorization like certification. It is the highest financial planning certification you can get. So it definitely required a lot of time. It was hard. Overall, it was hard. It's like the bar exam, but for financial people, and it separates you. So it was very difficult. It wasn't easy, but if you got the right support, the right staff, the right team, getting the right coursework done, then you could be able to pass the CFP in like no time, or with a breeze. It just takes a lot of practice and a lot of discipline. You have to understand the material, not just remember the material. Put it to you like that. I have a small business and would like to get investors so I can grow. Can you help me? LOL. It depends. So you got to text me, write me, email me, whatever it is. Reach out, because I don't know nothing about you. I don't know what you're trying to do. I don't even know if you even need investors. You might not. A lot of people think it's sexy. Like I said before, the venture capital, raising money, investor world is sexy. You might not even need it, dude. You just chill out. Just keep working. It might be better for you to, stay where you are. Who do you look up to? Kobe Bryant was somebody I looked up to. Personally, like I don't really have any. I think Rich Paul or somebody else I look up to. I don't think I have anybody close to me that I look up to, because I don't know. I've just never really I guess from a role model standpoint, I never really wanted to be like anybody. There were, family, anything like that. I just never had any aspirations of that direction. Now, Kobe Bryant, Rich Paul, those are people looking from outside at the mentality that they had. I think that was always attractive to me. There are a lot of people that helped me get to this point, I can tell you that. Like my head coach, track and field, Coach Steve. Coach Steve was, one of the few people that ever challenged me, right? Really pushed me. Like, hey, I know, it's one of them tough loves where they won't ever tell you they love you, but they'll show you in a way where it's like, hey, I know you have more and you're going to give me more. I'm not asking you to, but I'm going to make you give me more. And there was always a love and a respect from that standpoint, because it's like, okay, I got you. So Coach Steve was a big proponent in that aspect. There's a lot of people that I think is heavily responsible for where I'm at right now. Like, Rance, my cousin, was a boxer. So when I was a sports agent with Clever Sports, Rance was the first person to give me a shot. So being able to look up to him and watch him kind of operate as an athlete kind of just was invigorating. It was inspiring to be in his corner throughout that process. Shaheem was the same way. Without Shaheem, it will be no Clever Sports Group. Without Dedrick Henry, without Timon, Andy, without all of those guys, without Carlton, without, Berg, Roy, without those close guys to me, my sister, of course, without them, there won't be any of that, because, a lot of those people were the people who kind of I was leaning on that had no expertise in anything I was doing, but they was able to point me in direction, at least give me the thoughts and the right ideas that I needed to get to that next level. And those people kind of, they're still in my corner to this day, but those are the folks over the world too. So a lot of folks like that, it's kind of the ones that I think from an inspiration standpoint, they inspired me. What regrets do you have? I have a lot. It pertains to me in personal life, how I handle things, business-wise, professional-wise, a lot of things I didn't do well. I owe a lot of people some apologies. And I just never really, following up is big for me. So I always regret not following up well enough to a lot of folks who deserve to have some follow-up. I just didn't do that well enough. So yeah, but that's really deep. I can go all day about that one. 3 more questions. What's the difference between a Roth and a traditional IRA? So Roth traditional is pre-tax. You don't pay taxes now, but you will pay taxes later. Roth is the opposite. Roth is after tax. You pay taxes up front, and you don't pay taxes later on whenever you withdraw. So that's kind of a synopsis of them, but to get more intricate details, Google it or reach out to me directly, because that's when it comes down to that, I want to make sure I give you the right information. We could talk all day about it. So what's venture capital and how do you get into it? So VC world is pretty much investing into startup companies, startup ventures, ideas, and companies that are not yet big, but they're going to get big. So that's the space in it. And it's just basically how to get into it is just networking, asking questions, reaching out, showing up to events, and understanding like the investor world, understanding just what investors are looking for, understanding what companies, incubators we have, just being involved. I think that's the best way to get into it. Doing your research, I always say that, because it's necessary. Any hoots. Last question is, how do you keep your energy level up? It's hard as hell. It's natural because I'm naturally like energized, but it's hard to manage because sometimes I just don't know how to balance it, right? It's almost like, if you ever seen Fantastic Four, like the supernatural, like Johnny, like he couldn't control it. That's how I am sometimes. So it's hard to turn it on and turn it off. Sometimes it's just, but I maintain it because that's my energy. Like I mentioned, I want to be the electrifying person, but sometimes it's finding that balance because some rooms like are very slow. I always had issues, especially in the asset management world. I expressed this to the last boss I was with, who clearly didn't understand me, was that it's hard for me as a mid-20-year-old black boy to talk to 65, 70-year-old retirees because my energy level is way too high. It's way too high for them, and I don't think that was understood. But that was always an imbalance that I had, is how do I mask my energy level because I have ADHD, which causes that. So that was always tough. But anyway, that was all of the questions I had received from you guys via my social media. So if I didn't answer some of your questions because some of them didn't make sense or some of them was redundant, so forgive me for that. But really appreciate you guys for tuning into this episode. I know it was kind of different, but if you have any other questions or you want to know any more things in depth or in detail to follow up, if you ask a question and want more responses from it, feel free to reach out to me. If you got my email or Instagram, anything like that, feel free to, shoot me over something and I'll respond back to you. But anyway, in the meantime, you all know how the motto goes. Always be clever. I'm out.